Call of Duty is one of the biggest names in the video game world today. Published by Activision, Call of Duty is a pioneer in the first-person shooter style of video games, and first released in 2003 with a game set in World War II. As the franchise continued to develop and grow, it delved into later wars as well as science fiction stories about fictional wars. Call of Duty 1 and 2 both focused on World War II, arguably the most popular setting for FPS games. In 2006, Call of Duty introduced one of its most successful trilogies, Modern Warfare. Following Modern Warfare was Modern Warfare 2, released in 2009, and Modern Warfare 3, released in 2011. The game has since been rebooted as Modern Warfare 2019. Call of Duty also had its most popular series, Black Ops, first released in 2010. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 released in 2012 and was a powerful entry to the franchise, grossing $29.59 million in copies sold. However, Black Ops 1 was more popular, selling over 30 million copies and grossing approximately $30.72 million upon launch. Call of Duty is arguably too big to fail. No matter how many times the franchise messes up or creates unpopular titles amongst its fans, it still manages to marginally outsell many other games every year it releases. In fact, as of April 2021, the series has exceeded sales of over 400 million copies. Guinness World Records verified Call of Duty as the best-selling FPS in the United States and the third best-selling video game franchise of all time. Clearly, Call of Duty is a contender in the video game world and will most likely never fail. However, some Call of Duty games most certainly did much worse than others, whether justified or not. In particular, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. It sold approximately 13.6 million copies, which is one of the least-selling titles in the franchise, just sitting above Call of Duty 3, which sold 7.2 million copies. So, why did Infinite Warfare nearly fail so dramatically? Why did it warrant the worst like-to-dislike ratio for a Call of Duty trailer on YouTube? What went wrong? Well, the story is pretty interesting, so let's take a dive into why Infinite Warfare was despised by the Call of Duty community.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Call of Duty Infinite Warfare was released in 2016 as a futuristic, movement-based, first-person shooter game. It released on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Development began back in 2014 and was developed by Infinity Ward, which is also responsible for the Modern Warfare series. Infinite Warfare centers around a battle for the solar system, which the hostile Settlement Defense Front are attempting to conquer. It seems like a standard Call of Duty campaign pitch. Bad guy wants something, good guys have to stop bad guy. It's a run-of-the-mill game. It doesn't mean that it's bad, it's just pretty standard for the franchise in general. The game introduced a space setting with interesting movement features like zero-gravity environments, boost packs, grappling hooks, and more. Releasing at a time when Titanfall was insanely popular, I'm sure Call of Duty was hoping to recreate Titanfall's success with movement-based shooters. However, it didn't seem to be the case. Titanfall 1 was published in 2014 as well and was developed by Respawn Entertainment and published by EA. It sold 10 million copies, which was a major success for the franchise to just start out with. Respawn Entertainment was also a development team founded by Jason West and Vince Zampella, who were ex-employees of Infinity Ward that helped create the Call of Duty franchise. They were fired after contract disputes. Call of Duty as a franchise most likely saw Titanfall's success and realized that it was a model to base their next game off of. However, Infinite Warfare did not do for Call of Duty what Titanfall did, at all. The Infinite Warfare story follows Captain Nick Rise that uses a transforming fighter called the Jackal. The gameplay included both standard boots on the ground and new space combat, which seems quite innovative for the franchise. It's also not the first time Call of Duty has delved into the world of sci-fi settings, with Black Ops 2 dipping its way into it and Advanced Warfare continuing the pattern, as well as Black Ops 3 touching on sci-fi as well. The multiplayer was quite standard, but with a movement-based combat system and futuristic-style weapons. The game also featured the return of score streaks, which included things like a UAV, RC-8 robot, and other things. Zombies was also a cooperative mode that had its own mechanics and a separate story from the campaign. It was considered quite popular, and on Reddit, I found many users calling it the best non-Treyarch Zombies game. Many felt that it focused more on the fun aspect rather than the story. In fact, it was designed to be accessible to new players and included a lot of teamwork aspects to it. So, what went wrong for the game? It seemed to have a solid story, a standard Call of Duty premise, featured lots of different things to do, and included lots of game modes. Obviously, something had to fail for this game to be hated so much. Or was it a case of hopping the bandwagon? Let's take a closer look.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Infinite Warfare was devastated by the worst like to dislike ratio for any Call of Duty game trailer. It amassed a total of 645,000 likes and amassed 3.9 million dislikes. Many of the recent comments on the trailer mention how the campaign was good, but it just didn't feel like a Call of Duty game. They claim that had the game never been released under the Call of Duty title, it would have been much more successful. Whether that's the case or not, it was still being said. The game was initially criticized for being too futuristic and changing up the gameplay too much. People were tired of sci-fi. They wanted a return to the traditional warfare of Call of Duty. They didn't want robots and space travel and movement-based gameplay. They wanted just standard Call of Duty. The CEO of Activision at the time, Eric Hirschberg, stated that the game was going to deliver to the millions that wanted something innovative and different, and that they essentially couldn't just cater to nostalgia all the time. The thing is, I don't necessarily disagree with him. I do think that game franchises over time will suffer from a broken record syndrome if they don't at least try to change up something here and there. However, that doesn't mean that fans will positively respond to such changes, especially if they are nostalgic for the old days. The trailer is the 25th most disliked YouTube video, and that game didn't particularly sell as well as Hirschberg was hoping for. I watched the trailer to get an idea of what else could have gone wrong with it. In general, as a trailer, it looks decent enough. There isn't anything particularly wrong with it as a video game trailer, and as a personal fan of military sci-fi, if you just show me the trailer without telling me the title of it, I'd definitely be fairly interested in playing it. Even knowing that it's Call of Duty doesn't really change that. I'm a fan of both kinds of shooters, traditional and futuristic. But at the end of the day, Call of Duty is best played in a more traditional setting. Evidently, fans of the franchise were getting sick and tired of futurism. It's true though, Call of Duty had been exploring futuristic settings for quite a few titles, and it seemed as though the fans were getting fatigued from the sci-fi shooter thing. I don't blame them. When you keep getting the same thing and it doesn't seem like your franchise is going to return to its roots anytime soon, nostalgia begins to kick in and you just hate on the game because it doesn't remind you of what you love. Same thing happened with Assassin's Creed and Halo, for example. The franchises just kept diverging from their original style to the point where people were just growing tired of it. It is possible, and I mean very possible, that the game was hated on for the sake of hating on the game. When so many people have a similar opinion, you start to feel influenced by it yourself. Thus, opinions that are popular become adopted by your brain without you even realizing it. For example, if you watched a movie and thought it was bad, but everyone didn't agree, then you'd start reconsidering your own opinion. You may even start to find yourself shifting towards agreeing with others instead of yourself. The influential mob of hate is also powerful, and having an unpopular opinion is pretty tough to work with. It's highly probable that many people wanted to enjoy Infinite Warfare. It did sell a good amount of copies after all, but maybe didn't want to say that they liked the concept. I mean, over 600,000 people did like the trailer, which just goes to show that even if it's a minority, there were still people excited for the game.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Infinite Warfare was releasing at the same time that Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 were. Battlefield 1's trailer presented to people the promise of realistic and gritty ground warfare that heavily contrasted Call of Duty's space warfare model. Setting in the time of World War I, Battlefield 1 had a significantly better trailer that performed much better, getting 2.4 million likes and only 46,000 dislikes. Clearly, the demographic of video game players were much more interested in what Battlefield 1 had to offer in comparison to Infinite Warfare. The Battlefield 1 trailer was powerful, looked great, and was dark and violent. Clearly, this is what people want from a war game: dark, gritty, action-packed, intense, and bloody. Infinite Warfare didn't really deliver on this. Sure, it was an action-packed trailer and full of combat, but it didn't seem like a gritty game. It felt like it was most likely catering towards younger audiences with its trailer, which is interesting, as when Call of Duty began to move more towards a darker style with Modern Warfare 2019, it was faced with much more positive response and success. Clearly, fans want one thing: war. Titanfall 2 was also releasing around the same time. Although its trailer didn't receive as many views as the other two games, it still had a good like to dislike ratio, with 61,000 likes and only 754 dislikes. And it's been 4 years since it came out. The trailer portrayed a sci-fi shooter in a right way: dark, action-packed, gritty, and violent. It also portrayed what it delivered: a movement-based game with intense action, great shooting, awesome melee, and robots. Lots and lots of robots fighting other robots. And lo and behold, Both Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 featured what people wanted. Battlefield 1 sold 15 million copies in fact, but Titanfall 2 only sold 4 million copies. Despite this, Titanfall 2 was considered one of the best shooters of all time, and is still gaining a lot of new players to this day. It's seeing a resurgence on Steam, and was peaking in April at over 6,000 players daily, which is insane considering the game released in 2016. Battlefield 1 is also still doing phenomenal, with over 7,000 daily players, sometimes topping over 8,000 in some months. Contrast this to less than 140 players daily on Infinite Warfare, typically peaks around 300 players. These are all Steam charts, by the way. It's interesting, as Call of Duty Infinite Warfare sold around 13.6 million copies, just under Battlefield 1 more than Titanfall 2, but still sees the least amount of players today. This could be accounted to the fact that Call of Duty has an annual release cycle, but Black Ops 2 still sees an average of about 500 to 800 players daily on Steam, which is much better than Infinite Warfare. Evidently so, Infinite Warfare was hammered by its newfound competition with Battlefield 1. Despite its high sales, it isn't doing so well today. It has largely been forgotten by the Call of Duty fanbase and has instead been seen as the worst Call of Duty game by many. It was nominated for awards at the time and sold 1.8 million copies in its first week, but overall sales were down close to 50% compared to Black Ops 2. Activision was hit with this quite hard, but the game eventually did become the top selling game in the US in November 2016. It still wasn't enough to create a long-lasting, massive fanbase for this game the way Battlefield 1 did, however.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Infinite Warfare suffered from the same fate that many games do. It wasn't really finished. It took a few updates to make the game play better. There were quite a bit of glitches and bugs that made the game quite terrible to play. Not only that, but the movement-based mechanics weren't exactly very good either. The game most likely sold well because it included Modern Warfare Remastered. In fact, I believe that they probably sold them together in order to boost Infinite Warfare sales, though I don't have any official source for that, it's just more of a gut feeling. There was also the issue of monetization with loot boxes and having to pay to get some maps. This heavy monetization system was heavily hated. Nowadays, the microtransactions have become more cosmetic and aren't really necessary to play the game. Plus, having a guaranteed purchase is better than a chance loot box. The multiplayer was hated for these reasons. Plus, Infinity Ward had just come out of a recent flop with Call of Duty Ghosts, which was arguably also an insanely hated Call of Duty game. Essentially, there were many factors that contributed to the disaster of Infinite Warfare's reception. There's also franchise fatigue. Unfortunately, many games nowadays are suffering from this exact issue. The games continue to repeat themselves until people decide that they're bored and want something new instead. This is what happened with Call of Duty. However, when Call of Duty decided to innovate, they continued to produce sci-fi games until people got angry all over again. Franchise fatigue is real, innovation is needed, but to continue to produce the same game over and over again and expecting it to do well each time is like the definition of insanity. The results will start to become the same after some time. One interesting Reddit comment from u/FallenAngel152 stated that it was rumored that the next Call of Duty would have been a set of remastered Modern Warfare games, but then it was just another sci-fi shooter that felt as though it were copying Titanfall. There were just too many factors already at play before and after the game released that contributed heavily to its downfall.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Infinite Warfare suffered from franchise fatigue and other factors that made people leave the game. The massive competition from other franchises as well as the repetitive sci-fi setting was beginning to bother fans of Call of Duty. People didn't want another space fighting game. People wanted realistic warfare. Fans are the reason why video games succeed. Call of Duty was trying to cater to a desire to create some sci-fi games, but didn't realize that fans didn't want that anymore. Fans wanted a return to the origins of the series. Fans wanted gritty realistic warfare. They didn't want a space shooter anymore. And that's that. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed that video, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with others. Also, remember to turn on notifications so you never miss another upload. Until next time, this was Symbiosis, signing off.